Nobody expected the night to end like this. Not in Berlin. Not on one of the most prestigious grass courts in women's tennis. Not against a player who had arrived carrying all the momentum in the world. The crowd came expecting a close fight. 3 hard sets. Momentum swings. Drama. The kind of match that keeps fans glued to every point. Instead, what they witnessed left an entire stadium struggling to process what had just happened. Because by the end of the night, one of the hottest players on tour had been completely dismantled. And the woman responsible was a 21-year-old wildcard from the Philippines named Alex Eala. The atmosphere inside the historic venue felt electric long before the players stepped onto the grass. Fans packed the stands, cameras lined the court, and conversations echoed throughout the grounds. Everyone knew the story surrounding Donna Vekic. She had just completed one of the most impressive grass court runs of her career. Only days earlier she had lifted a major title after entering the tournament with virtually no expectations. Match after match, she had defeated quality opponents and arrived in Berlin carrying a wave of confidence few players could match. Across the net stood Alex Eala. Dangerous. Rising fast. But still considered by many to be the underdog. While tennis insiders understood her potential, there were still questions surrounding whether she could consistently challenge established stars on grass. She had shown flashes of brilliance. She had delivered memorable performances. But this match would reveal something much bigger. What nobody realized at that moment was that Eala wasn't stepping onto the court hoping to compete. She was stepping onto the court believing she could dominate. The first serve changed everything. The ball exploded off her racket and landed perfectly on the line. It wasn't just a point. It was a statement. The kind of statement that immediately changes the energy inside a stadium. Suddenly the crowd became quieter. Observers leaned forward. Something felt different. From the opening exchanges, Eala looked completely transformed. Every movement appeared effortless. Every decision looked calculated. Every shot carried purpose. While Vekic attempted to establish rhythm, Eala repeatedly took that rhythm away before it could develop. The Croatian's biggest weapons suddenly seemed less dangerous. Her power wasn't creating damage. Her aggressive patterns weren't generating control. Instead, they were being redirected, absorbed, and turned against her. Eala's left-handed angles created problems that grew larger with every game. Balls that appeared routine suddenly dragged Vekic far outside the court. Returns landed in uncomfortable positions. Rallies ended before the veteran could establish control. And then something remarkable started happening. The confidence that had carried Vekic through her title-winning run began to disappear. You could see it in her reactions. You could see it between points. You could see it every time she looked toward her coaching box searching for answers that weren't coming. Because every adjustment seemed to create a new problem. When she attacked, Eala countered. When she defended, Eala dictated. When she tried changing pace, Eala adapted instantly. Nothing worked. The longer the match continued, the more unbelievable the performance became. This wasn't a young player surviving against an experienced veteran. This was a young player taking complete ownership of the court. The first set flew by almost before spectators could settle into their seats. Game after game slipped away from Vekic as Eala continued producing tennis that bordered on flawless. The Filipino flags waving throughout the stadium became more animated with every passing minute. Chants grew louder. Excitement spread through the stands. Yet the most shocking part wasn't the score. It was how comfortable Eala looked. Pressure seemed non-existent. Nerves seemed absent. The moment never appeared too big. And that realization sent a message far beyond Berlin. Because elite players don't simply win matches. Elite players make difficult matches look easy. As the second set began, everyone waited for the response. Champions respond. Veterans adjust. Experienced competitors find solutions. Surely Vekic would push back. Instead, Eala elevated even further. The level somehow increased. Her footwork became sharper. Her serving became more precise. Her shot selection became even more ruthless. Point after point, she suffocated opportunities before they could develop. Vekic attempted approaching the net. Eala passed her. Vekic tried extending rallies. Eala accelerated them. Vekic searched for momentum. Eala refused to give her any. The scoreboard began reflecting a reality few could have imagined before the match started. One player was fighting for survival. The other looked unstoppable. And this is where the story became bigger than a first-round victory. Because every dominant performance reveals something hidden. A ceiling. A breakthrough. A glimpse of what might be possible. For years, Filipino tennis fans had believed Eala possessed the talent to compete with the world's best. They had watched her rise through junior tennis. They had celebrated milestones. They had defended her through setbacks and disappointments. Now they were watching proof. Proof that she belonged. Proof that she could overwhelm elite competition. Proof that she could step onto one of tennis' biggest stages and command attention. When the final games approached, the result felt inevitable. The tension no longer centered on who would win. The tension centered on how dominant the final score would look. Then came the closing moments. One final exchange. One final strike. One final reminder of the level Eala had reached that evening. The ball landed. The point ended. And just like that, it was over. The scoreboard displayed numbers that looked almost impossible considering who stood on the opposite side of the net. A commanding straight sets victory. A complete dismantling of a player who had entered the tournament carrying championship momentum. The crowd erupted. Fans rose to their feet. Flags waved. Phones captured the moment. And Eala responded with a calm reaction that somehow made the achievement even more impressive. No wild celebration. No emotional collapse. Just quiet confidence. Because deep down, she seemed to understand something everyone else was only beginning to realize. This wasn't the destination. It was the beginning. But what happened after the match revealed why tennis analysts couldn't stop talking about the performance. Once the statistics started appearing, the victory somehow became even more impressive than it looked from the stands. The numbers told a story of total control. Her serve was nearly untouchable. Her efficiency was elite. Her aggression remained calculated rather than reckless. Most players occasionally lose focus. Most players experience lapses. Most players surrender opportunities. Eala did almost none of those things. She won the overwhelming majority of points behind her first serve. She protected her service games with remarkable authority. She produced winner after winner while keeping mistakes to a minimum. Those are not the numbers of a player having a lucky day. Those are the numbers of a player operating at a championship level. And suddenly, conversations across the tennis world began changing. The discussion was no longer whether Alex Eala belonged among the sport's rising stars. That question had already been answered. The new question was far more dangerous. How far could she actually go? Because waiting ahead was a challenge unlike any she had faced in Berlin so far. A challenge carrying one of the biggest names in women's tennis. A challenge that would test whether this stunning performance was merely a great night or the beginning of something much larger. And as fans celebrated around the world, another player was watching closely. A player ranked near the very top of the sport. A Wimbledon champion. A powerhouse capable of ending dreams in a single afternoon. Her name was Elena Rybakina. And the collision course had already begun. By the time the stadium lights faded and the crowd began leaving the grounds, the conversation had already spread far beyond Berlin. Social media exploded. Tennis analysts rushed to break down the performance. Fans replayed highlights over and over, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. Because victories happen every day on the professional tour. Upsets happen every week. But performances like this are different. They force people to pay attention. Within minutes, clips of Eala's winners were circulating across the tennis world. The reactions all sounded remarkably similar. Nobody expected this. Nobody expected the Queen's Club champion to look completely overwhelmed. Nobody expected a player riding one of the hottest streaks in women's tennis to be reduced to searching desperately for answers. And perhaps most importantly, nobody expected Alex Eala to look this ready. The statistics only fueled the discussion further. She had controlled her service games with ruthless efficiency. She had produced far more winners than her opponent. She had limited mistakes while maintaining aggressive intent. Every number pointed toward the same conclusion. This wasn't luck. This wasn't momentum. This wasn't one of those strange matches where everything happens to go right. This was preparation meeting opportunity. And that realization made the next challenge feel even more significant. Because standing on the other side of the draw wasn't just another experienced veteran. It was Elena Rybakina, one of the most feared players in women's tennis. A former Wimbledon champion. A player whose game seems almost designed specifically for grass courts. Massive serves, flat power, relentless pressure. The kind of opponent capable of making even elite players feel helpless. And perhaps the most fascinating detail of all? These two had met recently. Not long ago, Eala stood across the net from Rybakina in Rome. She fought. She competed. She showed flashes of brilliance. But when the biggest moments arrived, Rybakina found another level. The final score suggested a competitive contest. Yet scores alone rarely tell the full story. Because losses can become valuable. Sometimes more valuable than victories. Sometimes they expose weaknesses. Sometimes they reveal answers. Sometimes they plant seeds that grow into future breakthroughs. And according to Eala herself, that defeat taught her lessons she never forgot. While many players move on from losses as quickly as possible, Eala studied hers. She examined the patterns. She analyzed the mistakes. She identified the moments where matches are truly won and lost. And now fate had handed her another opportunity. A rematch. But this time the circumstances felt different. This time she wasn't arriving after disappointment. She wasn't searching for confidence. She wasn't trying to prove she belonged. She had just produced one of the most dominant performances of the tournament. And suddenly the psychological dynamic had changed. Rybakina remained the favorite. Nobody questioned that. The rankings said so. The achievements said so. The experience said so. But for the first time, people began wondering whether Eala possessed something even more dangerous than momentum. Belief. Real belief. The kind that transforms talented players into contenders. The kind that allows athletes to step into impossible situations and genuinely expect success. As anticipation built, experts started examining the matchup more closely. On paper, Rybakina's advantages were obvious. Her serve remains one of the most devastating weapons in the sport. When she finds rhythm, points disappear in seconds. Her ground strokes explode through the court. Her ability to take time away from opponents creates constant pressure. Grass amplifies every one of those strengths. Yet hidden beneath those advantages was a question nobody could ignore. Could she handle the version of Alex Eala that had just arrived in Berlin? Because the player who dismantled Donna Vekic wasn't simply playing well. She was playing freely, aggressively, fearlessly. And dangerous things happen when talented young athletes stop worrying about reputations. Throughout sports history, breakthrough moments often begin quietly. A single performance, a single victory, a single night when confidence suddenly becomes permanent. Years later, people look back and realize they were witnessing the beginning of something special. What nobody knew was whether Berlin would become one of those moments. The possibility alone created enormous excitement. Back home in the Philippines, fans followed every development with growing anticipation. For many, Eala represented more than rankings or tournament results. She represented possibility. Proof that a player from a nation without a deep tennis tradition could rise onto the sport's biggest stages and compete with the world's elite. Every victory carried significance beyond the scoreboard. Every breakthrough inspired future generations. Every appearance on major courts expanded what seemed possible. That responsibility could overwhelm some athletes. But Eala appeared to embrace it. Again and again, she spoke about representing her country. Again and again, she acknowledged the support that followed her around the world. And perhaps that connection explains why her victories resonate so deeply with fans. They don't feel like individual achievements. They feel shared. As the days passed, excitement surrounding the rematch continued growing. Predictions filled television segments. Articles appeared across sports websites. Former players offered opinions. Analysts debated strategies. Could Eala neutralize Rybakina's serve? Could her movement disrupt the former Wimbledon champion's rhythm?